Hey there, hi there, ho there. So we are here at 1110 Garage in Phoenix, and we're going to talk about how to be prepared for long trips. And that's not a little topic, that's a big topic, because you've got to be physically, mentally, and gear-wise ready to go. So let's talk long trips. So we're going to cover how to be physically, mentally, and logistically, meaning all your gear and everything, your bike and everything, prepared for long rides. And at the end, we're going to tie it all up with a nice little bow. But first of all, physically, how to be prepared for long rides physically. You start by incrementally increasing the length of rides that you do on a daily. And if you like to ride long distances already and you're accustomed to it, you've got a leg up on it. If you haven't ridden 200, 300 mile days before and you plan on going on a long trip where you're going to ride 400 or 500 miles in a day, then you better start taking longer day rides and be prepared for it. That's going to give you a lot of clues about what you need to change on your bike, maybe what you need for comfort, maybe a different seat, maybe a different bike altogether. If it's not really the right bike for taking long trips, you might discover that if you do some shorter trips, maybe an overnight somewhere, and you realize, oh, I don't have enough luggage capacity, or oh, I'm going to need to alter the way I pack, things like that. So take some longer trips, and it will also help you realize whether you're in physical condition, meaning not just healthy enough, but do you have the strength? Is your back in good enough shape? Or do you need to work on some core exercises and get more fit to do a longer ride? Because you're not just sitting there, you're actually moving around and doing stuff. So, are you physically fit? Doing those longer day rides and overnight rides will really show you that and give you a hint, because it really is strenuous logging some miles every day for a longer trip. Next thing, physically, be prepared with some stretching exercises. Learn some stretching exercises. Don't just start doing them out of the blue. Really practice some good stretching exercises so that you are accustomed to them and you have them in part of your morning routine. That's the best time, is to stretch out first thing in the morning as your wake-up routine. Do that whether you're riding or not. Just have it as part of your getting up in the morning routine, and then you'll have them in your head. You don't have to look at a sheet all the time, which, when you're first learning exercises, you're going to be referring to a sheet to remind you what exercises to do, right? Or at least a list. So get in the habit of doing your morning stretches, and that'll help you stay physically fit on the road. Mentally, you gotta get in the right mindset. A lot of people asked, how do you stay motivated to stay on the road? That was something that I've heard again and again, and somebody brought it up on a thread recently. So you gotta have the right mindset. You gotta have your why in mind. Are you just going to explore and see what's out there and spend time on your motorcycle? Or are there certain sites that you want to see? Now, if there are certain sites that you want to see, certain roads that you want to hit, that then comes into planning. And you need to take into consideration, what kind of planner are you? Are you a detail planner? Or are you a freewheeling kind of planner? And I go into the whys and hows and stuff on another video that dropped earlier. So you can go into the advantages and disadvantages of planning versus freewheeling. I'm not going to get into that, but just know what kind of planner are you and what kind of planning does the length of your trip require. So that helps you get the right mindset for your trip. Also, something you want to do to get ready for a trip is get hydrated. You need to get hydrated. It's not about just hydrating on the trip. If you're not hydrated to start out with, you're going to get road fatigue much easier, much quicker. It's important to be hydrated And start hydrating the week before you travel, or get in the habit. It's just healthy to be hydrated. So get in the habit of being hydrated every day. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Be in the habit of drinking enough water, and that'll make it easier for you to stay hydrated once you're on the road. Speaking of, invest in a Camelback or some kind of hydration pack. It really is worth it. You can get some that fit in a tank bag, so you don't have to have it on your back, but figure out some kind of system for a hydration pack to stay hydrated on the road. I find that sipping water all day long is much more effective than just chugging down a bottle when I stop. So just sip, sip, sip all day long. That'll be much more effective. If you look at football players during games, they're sipping their Gatorade, they're sipping their water. Every time you see them, they're just taking a little sip and getting ready. Because if you just fill up your stomach with a bunch of water sloshing around, you're not going to feel good. So take your time at your stops. If you're taking a whole bottle, don't rush through it and just chug it down real fast. Sometimes you're going to have to if you're on a really tight time schedule and you're running short on time, but try to avoid that and take your time taking in your hydration and stay hydrated. So make a plan how to stay hydrated on the road. Don't just say, oh yeah, I'm going to stop and drink a lot every stop. That's not the best plan. So figure out a plan for staying hydrated. But back to mentally prepared. You gotta know your why. Why are you out there? And that will feed into how much planning you're going to do. And then we're going on to the logistics of it. Ooh, packing. Don't just figure out what you're gonna pack and how you're gonna pack at the last minute. Start your packing list well in advance, especially if you're going on a long trip. For a longer trip, you're probably only gonna need a week's worth of clothes because you're gonna rotate and stop and do laundry somewhere probably. Especially if you're using Bunka-Biker, they're often very kind and offer to let you do a load of laundry, so that's really helpful. So if you're a planner and you're planning out in detail and you're going on a long trip, you might want to ask for a Bunka-Biker that can let you do a load of laundry when you're there. Bunka-Biker, I highly recommend. Go on Facebook and find the Bunka-Biker Facebook group. It's an awesome group of people. They can tell you about local roads that you want to plan and all kinds of sites that might not be listed on the tourist information. So hook into your Bunka-Biker network as part of your logistics for your planning. If it's for a shorter long ride, then you might want to just check maps, Google. If you're going to be staying overnight, maybe check with the local hotel, little motel, find out from them if there are any interesting sites that you might not want to miss. So that's a good thing. Check out local roads, post up on forums, and ask people like long distance riders on Facebook. That's a great route to ask questions. Ask for, are there any tips for riding in the Dakotas? Just search the threads. I'm sure somebody's already asked for riding tips for the area you want to go to. So do a search on Facebook in the Long Distance Riders group, and there's all kinds of great tips and ideas for riding in certain areas of the country. For doing coast-to-coast rides, they've got some great tips, not to miss sites and things. So that's a great resource for doing your logistical research. Planning your packing, let's go back to that. Load your bike at least a week before you're going to go. Why do I want to load my bike a week before? Because you're going to find out that something doesn't work. Either you don't have enough room, or you've got more space than you thought, or you're going to need to reconfigure everything that you're packing. So figure out your load plan at least a week before, maybe longer if you're going on a longer trip, because you might need to order some more gear. You might need to order a tank bag or a bigger tank bag, or you might need to order a tail bag. So figure all that out at least a week before your trip. Practice packing and unpacking. That's the thing that takes the longest in the morning, is repacking everything out of Pandora's box once you've taken things out There's all kinds of packing systems using Ziploc bags, using suited Nomad bags, you know, those compression cubes. I use those. Those are really great for packing. That's another video. Figure out your packing system at least a week before you go. Now, let's go to taking care of your bike. We touched on that with luggage on the bike, but you want to think about how long you're going to be out. If you've got a chain on your bike, you're going to want to bring chain lube. You're going to want to bring some rags for cleaning off the chain. Are you going to take disposable rags? Are you going to take terry cloth rags? What are you going to bring with you to maintain the bike? So figure out what things you're going to need for bike maintenance on the road. Don't just wing it, plan it, okay? You've got to make sure that you're planning all of your maintenance for the road. If you're going on thousands of miles, if you're like taking off for a month, you're going to need to do an oil change. Are you going to plan to stop at a dealership, or are you going to do it yourself? Stopping at a dealership is pricey. If you're on a tight budget, figure out the details. What are you going to do? Here's a suggestion. If you need to change your oil on the road, you can buy all your supplies at a bike shop, go to an auto shop like AutoZone or one of those, O'Reilly's, whatever you got in the area, buy the oil drain pan. You've already got the oil and the filter from the cycle shop. And if you've got a specific specialized oil filter, not a generic oil filter, like on my Triumph Tiger, I have to have a Triumph specific filter. I can't just buy any old filter anywhere. So I get my, don't forget your crush washer. Your crush washer and your oil filter, they don't take much space, so you might want to go ahead and buy those ahead of time, because you don't want to be out on the road and, oh, they've sold out of your size of oil filter. So carry the oil filter and the crush washer with you. Oil you can find pretty much anywhere at any cycle shop. Get your oil, take your filter and your oil to a car shop and buy an oil filter pan or the whole kit. You can get the whole kit that has the funnel and all that stuff. And make sure before you change the oil that they have an oil drain tank where you can put all your used oil. Most automotive shops, automotive supply stores have a used oil drain tank, and they take in used oil. So check which ones have it, because I haven't found one that doesn't, but just in case, ask ahead, make sure they have a used oil drain thing. Change the oil in the parking lot, take in the used oil, and you can just throw everything else away that you don't have room for on your bike. Oil change done on the road. There you go. You're welcome. If you have the money, it's more convenient, but you got to call ahead. Make sure you make reservations ahead, even if it's just for an oil change. Call the dealership ahead and schedule an appointment for your oil change. Now, that's going to be like a day of downtime, so maybe pick a dealership in a town where there's something you want to sightsee, and take an Uber to the site that you want to see. Or if you know somebody in the area, coordinate visiting with them and your oil change. So plan that oil change ahead so that you're not stuck there just sitting at the dealership waiting on my oil change. So you know what I mean. Or if you don't mind sitting there, if you have a book to read, I recommend getting a Kindle app on your phone so you can carry all your books with you on your phone, which won't take up more space. If you have space in your luggage, carry a book, that's fine. But I typically don't have space when I'm traveling Nomad, so I have a Kindle on my phone and I just carry all my books on my phone. Figure out what you're going to need to take with you. If you have a chain, like I said, you definitely need to take some chain lube and rags with you on the road. I like to take those blue shop towels and just throw them away. I fold up a bunch of them, a nice big stack, and then I just use the shop towels. I also have a round grunge brush to clean the chain occasionally. It only takes up that much space. It's about this big around, and it's a spiral brush that you attach to the chain to clean the chain, instead of the grunge buster brush that's this big that you have to find space for. So that's a little tip there for you for maintenance of your chain on the road. So we've gone over the physical, the mental, logistical, and taking care of your bike. Figure out what spare parts, by the way, you might want to take with you. If you're doing a lot of off-road riding, bring some spare levers just in case. That's always good to have because they don't always have them in stock at the shop. You'll probably need to, depending on the bike, you might need to take your bike into the shop because they have tools that you would need for changing out your lever. For example, on the Tiger, you need a press for pressing out the bushing and pressing in a new bushing to change out the brake lever. So just have the spare levers with you. Know how to change it if you're going to need to take it to a shop, or if you can change it out yourself on the road. That's good to know. And I think that's it. So to wrap it all up in a little bow, remember this phrase: horse, saddle, rider, in that order. The horse is, of course, your bike, your steel horse. Figure out what you need to take care of your bike on the road, and always take care of your bike first. The saddle, that's all your equipment, all the peripherals, everything that you're taking with you, all your luggage, your hydration pack, all of that stuff. Take care of that. When you stop, make sure that you're checking everything. You're doing your T-clock on your bike, and you're checking all your load to make sure your load is secure and everything. And then the rider. Be physically and mentally prepared for a long trip. So I hope these tips have been helpful and given you some insights that you didn't think about traveling long trips. If you like this, then hit a like and subscribe and hit that little bell so you know when new videos drop. And thank you. Thank you for watching to the end. Thank you for watching and subscribing to this channel. We really appreciate it. I really appreciate it very much. And like I always say, get out there and have an adventure. You're prepared now.